All right, mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2.
And the pot calls the kettle black, calls the kettle burnt, calls her mad. Kettle reminds the pot that we both been burned on the same stove, that the parts of our bodies that are layered in soot were scorched by the same hands. Kettle tells pot that she still boils water, holds the hot breath of a white man's tongue, endures the slow simmer of a white woman's allyship, and still we make something beautiful. Pot calls the kettle wicked, and kettle says no, but says she's so magical she burned the hand of the last man who tried to pour himself a piece of her. Says she's so black she is everything, so black she is the beginning. She is the first thing someone finds home in when they wake up in the morning. Says ain't that what it means to be black? To have the world go up in flames around you and still be sanctuary for someone, saving men who lost themselves the night before, saving men who curse our names but forget his mama is made of steel too. And now the pot has no words, but calls the kettle bitter, but loves the glass pan, the fine china, loves all the exotic shit white men put behind glass casings, loves how fragile things not made of steel can be. But this isn't about the pot or the pan. This is about the kettle, the black woman, how she pours herself across the earth, but no one bats an eye when the water disappears. We give ourselves to men who never love us, but they say we are difficult, too hard to break. How we, the kettle, praise this pot, this man for all the water he holds. How we are the only ones who do not call him monster when the water boils over, because we know this heat, this white flame, hot enough to make any of us explode. We are the first ones to make noise when the world goes up in flames, but they say the earth was saved by the man who heard her scream. Pot calls the kettle black, and kettle says yes, but says you best remember you black too. The next time they bring a fire to your neck, they burn black bodies on the stake and the stove. Pot calls the kettle black, and kettle says bitch I might be, says nuck if you buck, then says wipe me down. Kettle says yes my nigga, I be black, I be mad, and I boiled the last man down to his bones when he tried to test me. Pot calls the kettle black, and kettle says hell yes, but don't say my name as if you ain't ever been burnt too.
pathological lying. It's not considered a mental disorder. Instead, it's observed as a behavioral disturbance that's present inside of other disorders like antisocial personality disorder and some brain disorders like Korsakoff syndrome, which is brain damage from alcohol. Pathological lying used to be called pseudologia fantastica. I like saying that. And it referred to people who told multiple outrageous lies that would border on the fantastic. And those were more than just simple lies. These would include elaborate details that seem questionably believable. And when you challenge the person on the details, they tell even more lies to make the story work. The motive behind the lying wasn't always clear, and sometimes it was just to impress people. Some people start to believe their lies and have trouble even knowing what the truth is. Believe it or not, for some people, it can become like ordinary talk, and they don't even see themselves as spinning a lot of lies. They just see it as talking, like storytelling. And what's wrong with storytelling?
We have an update to a story we brought you about a gymnast who did not receive an honor, only Black gymnast on the floor. They said it was a mistake. They corrected it later. Parents.
So the girl math trend was wholesome and harmless, talking about handbags and shoes, shopping, just really having fun, just us ladies chatting away. But as always, men started chiming in with their unsolicited opinions. And why they do that? Because boy math, those ladies are dragging those men. And I'm going to share some of my favorite tweets with y'all right now. Boy math is when you want to break up, but instead of just breaking up, you start being insufferable and hope she breaks up with you. Boy math is thinking marriage has more serious consequences than having a child with someone. Boy math is wanting a traditional woman who pays bills. Men really compare their lives and experiences with dating to millionaires, all while having no millions. Boy math. Boy math is giving your baby mom $107 a month in child support and thinking it funded her trip to Aruba. And don't forget this little nugget right here. Boy math is raising 3 pit bulls instead of 1 child. Boy math is them wanting a prenup and they make $45K. And also this one, boy math is getting your heart broken once in grade school, then seeking revenge on every girl you date afterwards. Boy math is wanting 0 kids but having 0 condoms on hand. Now, all these men had to do was mind their business and stay out of women's business. I don't know why every time women are in a group talking about something, they always feel like, you know what, and I would also like to say, see, that's what y'all get.
Let me pause it right there. Welcome to the stage, Cyber. How you doing tonight?
We all the way live. We all the way live. What's up, ladies? My allergies kicking my butt today. Man, happy Monday.
Yep. Happy Monday.
Anything exciting happen today for you guys out there?
You know?
You can hear it, right? I took 2 pills. I don't know if I start sneezing, I'm gonna be gone, Torch.
I hear you. If y'all can hear Cyber okay, hit 1 in the chat. Let's make sure everybody, we got the good sound going on. You know, this high-end StreamYard. You know, this high-end StreamYard, you know.
Yeah, I'm going to get me a good computer so I could get me some sound effects. And,
oh, that would be clean.
You know.
But I do have I'm going to put you on the spot. What is your definition of a hit dog hollering?
My definition of a hit dog hollering? See, you know, dogs bark, right? Dogs are nuisance.
Right.
So with all the barking, and if I smack him, if I discipline the dog, he start hollering. But he already, started barking. So my definition would be a person who, what's that old saying? If it's too hot in the kitchen, get up out of there or something like that. What's that saying?
Yeah.
What is
I heard
saying?
of that. Yeah.
If you can't cook, if it's too hot in the kitchen, just get up out of there, you know?
That reminds me of that old song back in the day. By the I think it was who was it?
What up, creator?
Commodores. The Commodores. Too hot. Well, okay. Well, let me shut up.
It reminds me of the Backstabbers. Because if you turn your back on that dog, he gonna bite your ankles.
And who likes to get their ankle bit?
That's for sure.
Because you have to discipline a dog. You have to train them up. Then you gotta do too much with dogs to get them conditioned to stop their behavior.
Right. Yeah, but it's like, I'd be on here and I'd be talking,
There it goes.
you know.
Somebody got it for. If you can't take the heat, get your ass out the kitchen. Thank you,
Yeah.
Fiona. Thank you.
So anyway, I've noticed that every time we do a live, folks get offended or upset, you know, and then they want to return with their, whatever they want to do. And it's like, damn, many times they don't realize it that I'm not really specifically talking about them. I'm talking about, but they hollered.
But you know what, George? You know what? We're gonna do better for the ladies. We're gonna do better for you guys. We're gonna give you better content in the future. We're gonna get up off these bandits. Because they have to understand, like, they think we over here we're trauma bonded and we're bitter. Like, my man is downstairs right now. That's why you know, I-
He taking good care of you. He taking
man,
good care of you, huh?
man, listen, I'm gonna get up off this live real soon. I just say that.
Oh man, that's what I'm talking. But wait a minute. Y'all are supposed to be hurt. Remember,
Yeah.
supposed to be lonely. What happened?
You know, I want to say something that's been on my mind too. See, I'm a black woman who always I grew up with my father. They have to understand we're not a monolith. There are black women who had their fathers. And
Right.
I'm one of them. I went to school and I was like maybe out of say 1,000 girls, 100 of us had our fathers in the home. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of those girls, so I don't have that no father complex that they try to put on people. I'm not negating others women's, trauma. And I'm also that black woman who has never experienced a uh abusive relationship.
Got
I've
it.
I've never been beat. I've never been dogged out, dragged. I'm just a grown ass woman and I know when to get on. I know when I'm not compatible with a man. And I just get on. What's up?
Exactly.
So you gotta understand, it's a lot of us out here that are like that. We don't have that complex that they try to put on us, but we're not negating what our sisters in the war have went through. You know,
Boom.
yeah. I'm about to make his ass get in the shower because he was helping his friend move. He looking rough. Towards you over here looking rough.
But anyway, I mean, that's basically what we going with tonight. It's the
Hit
hit
dog
dogs
holler.
hollering. It's like, they and it's funny because the next thing they say is like, they'll say stuff like, it's not all of us, and this has nothing to do with Razor's room. That's a different thing. But they will say that stuff like that, and it's like, well, if that's the case, then why are you hollering?
Kill Bill in the house. But you gotta you're going to the next step. The first step is the dog is barking. The
Yeah,
dog is growling. You know what I'm saying? So you have to hit the dog to
yeah. And
disrupt
and,
their
and
behavior.
and it's funny because see, the thing is that a lot of hit dogs, they be complaining about Cynthia G and Priscilla as well. It's like, wait, did she say your name specifically in her, you know, in her, what she said? No, she didn't. She did not say that. So if you are responding, it sounds like your ass just got hit and you hollering. That's how I see it.
Well,
And
this
that's
is
why it's funny because, oh yeah, Cynthia G, oh yeah, she's so mean and everything. And then they go straight over to some other channel, right? but they agree with the person that they agree with that person. Like, for example, a good example is Dee Dee. Dee Dee talks as much shit about Black women as you could say, as you could argue Cynthia G talks about Black men. Okay. Or really, she talks about bandits, but that's the hollering part. But the
What about
bottom
what's her
line is
name?
this.
Crimson Cure. She talks Chantel Simone. If it don't apply, let it fly. Like,
Yeah. And that's the funny thing is, see, that's the, oh my God, you know something? You just brought up a great
Kill
point,
Bill.
Cyber.
Kill Bill got a samurai
Yeah.
sword.
Yeah. Think about it like this. You mentioned Chantel. She be saying some of the most disgusting
And
things.
look,
We even featured some of her videos of her literally saying it's okay to hit a man with a brick,
a
but
woman, you
not
mean?
really saying it. But to hit a woman with a brick, but not really saying it. But now they got a problem with Cynthia G and Priscilla, and I'm like, wait. Number one, Priscilla
Priscilla talks
is
about all men.
telling women how to run their lives to be happier. Cynthia G is doing very much the same thing. So
No, but Priscilla, she's big on male nature. It's not
right,
a race thing.
right.
Cynthia G is more about the mind and the pathology, and but she do be talking shit. Priscilla is more of a male nature thing.
Right. But the thing is this: if you're not the type of man, i.e., if you're not a bandit, then why do you have a problem with what she's talking about? You should be
I mean,
happy that you're one of the few.
let's give them the benefit of the doubt, though, George. They might not be full bandit, but they subscribe to some of the accolades of bandits.
Right.
They got bandit tendencies.
And it's so funny because if you reversed everything Cynthia G talked about, it's the thing. If they were saying the same thing about, let me put it this way: if Cynthia G, and this is a weird thing for me to say, but I'm going to say it, if Cynthia G was giving that type of energy towards Black women that she gives towards Black men, the men in the manosphere would not have a problem with it. If they agreed with the ideology, they would not have a problem with it. That's the problem.
Let's take away Cynthia G's sentiments of her bandits, all that. How do they disprove what she's saying about their mindset?
Exactly.
How do you debunk that?
I think that's why they're getting mad. I think that's why they're getting mad, because they can't debunk it.
She even goes back into
debunk what she's saying.
The 1800s on them.
Yeah. I mean, that's the problem they have. Mm-hmm. That is the problem they have, is they can. That's what I think, because see, the manosphere talking points can easily be debunked.
Well, all you gotta do is do some research and come with a counter argument, but you got to do research for that.
Exactly.
You got to go into the archives for that.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is that if you look at what Cynthia G and Priscilla say, agree or disagree, they have a strong argument. You may agree or disagree, but they have a very strong argument. And instead of making an articulate reply, what do? They literally prove their points.
So what makes them strong?
By their behavior. These men literally prove Priscilla and Cindy correct by their behavior.
What makes their argument strong? What makes both of the women you just described? What makes their argument strong?
What makes their argument strong is that they can pull up, if they can pull up datas and facts, as they call it in the manosphere, facts and data, and not be, and there, I've never seen anybody, male or female, argue their points articulately and win. The point is this. If you are insulted by what somebody says, the best way to prove them wrong is to not be who they said you were. But usually what happens is that these people, these men or women, turn out to be exactly what they said they were. So let's say they call it a person a band. They're calling, oh yeah, these bandits, blah 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 blah.
Wait,
and then the guy replies and goes, oh, you effing bi blah 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 blah, all you black bis, and then all of a sudden it's like, see, there it is. Proof is in the pudding. The guy had a chance to just make an articulate reply, but he goes on a bandit-thon.
But you know what a bandit is, right? Where did the bandit come from? With the cowboy days?
It started there. A bandit has always been known as a bad guy.
Yeah,
back in the day, if you want. Now it's been modified since then.
A terror of the community.
Right.
A terror of social constructs.
Right. And see, there's the argument then, it's not all black men. You know, there's that argument. But you have to think to yourself, of course, there's nothing that's going to be black and white like that, like it's all black men. The problem is this. You see how the community is right now. Okay.
See, we can only speak for our community, our so-called community. We're not necessarily in all these non-black people's communities.
Right.
So when we're talking about the people that look like us.
Right.
That's the only thing we can go by.
Exactly. And basically though, we are very much we could safely say that in many instances our community is people of us, because you know a lot of us haven't moved out. So the thing is that the problem, the biggest problem that a bandit has is keeping their temper and not doing unlawful or immoral things. In my opinion, the modern version of a bandit, of what I believe, my opinion, I believe Cynthia G believes a bandit is. The bandit, their pathology, they can't control themselves. They're detrimental to the community in one way or the other. They do not how to be respectful towards black women, deserved or not deserved. And they continue to spew their own rhetoric with its own anger, but they have no problem with somebody else. Let's say it's like this. You see how many people had problems with Kevin Samuels? Those same guys that have a problem with Cynthia G don't have any problems with Kevin Samuels. But the proof is in the pudding that at the very least, Kevin Samuels, I would say, more than doubles the amount of vitriol put towards women. That's how I see it. But they have no problem because they agree with the ideology. So it might not even be really as much about Cynthia G or Princella, and more about them not agreeing with the ideology of these two women. The problem is instead of attacking the ideology and trying to make an argument for it, they attack the women, and that's what's wrong. Zero to Hero, welcome to the stage. How you doing tonight?
Hey, how you doing? You're mute, sir. Or ma'am.
Yeah, sir, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, we got you.
Sorry about that. I was listening on my computer. So first and foremost, I would like to say, to some aspects, I do agree with you guys. I do think there's a lot of people who disparage our community, both men and women, right? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes,
got
sure
a lot
can.
of charlatans and grifters since the
Yeah, we do.
1960s.
We definitely do. So I guess my question to you guys would be, so one thing, I'm relatively young. I'm only 30, so you guys might have a little bit more experience than me. But to me, it seems like in these social media spaces, it's always the minority who screams the loudest. So are we supposed to be paying attention to those people?
I'm not sure if that makes when you say the minorities are screaming the loudest in which space, what are you referring to?
Social media in general.
Okay. Um
Okay, I mean,
I
I think I
honestly that's
understand a little bit. So
okay.
let's take his response and put it in two different categories. So we got the manosphere and we have us on this side. So
Yeah.
what would you consider the minority that's screaming the loudest on the manosphere side? What are their
On
attributes? And then what would you consider the same on the BWE side?
Okay, so I'm not sure what the other side is, but for like the manosphere, it's like the manosphere is to me a small group of black men or men in general. I feel like they created this space to do all this talking, but the majority of men don't believe that narrative. For example, everybody says like most people in the manosphere worship Kevin Samuels, but a lot of people I met in the real world thought he was absurd. Like, especially with the way he spoke to people. And especially with the fact that he said that if you're a man who makes money, you're allowed to mistreat your significant other, more or less. I'm summarizing, I could be wrong. Right?
Okay. Right?
But I feel like the majority of men don't behave in that manner. So why do we focus so much on the minority and perpetuate that, I would say, negative stereotypes that they create?
Okay, I have a follow-up question for you.
Mhm.
So we introduce real news clips about things that's happening in the community to black women and black children. These people that represent the predators are not necessarily people that are in the manosphere. These are everyday guys. What would you say are the majority that's doing those crimes, or those are still considered the minority?
I would like to. Okay, so I don't have the stats on that, but I would like to believe the minority of men are committing these heinous crimes, such as, well, I think you can guess some of those examples.
So how do you
Okay.
explain the daily? We got 2-3 stories daily, every day.
Hmm.
How can you explain 1,500 black women unalive this year and
So,
counting?
so 1,500 black women have been unalive this year, right? I'm trying to make sure I understand
It might be
correctly.
more. I'm just paraphrasing the numbers. Yeah,
No,
might be more.
so first and foremost, I will say that is a problem. But at the same time, I would say if the majority of men were committing these crimes, those number would be way higher.
Okay.
And I
Wait.
think, and
Somebody in
correct
the
me if
chat
I'm wrong. I'm
get the
sorry.
numbers. Somebody in the chat get the numbers for us, please.
And once again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think those type of incidents do occur in, like, I want to say specific areas, like, usually low income and things of those manner.
Okay,
Primarily, I'm
zero,
assuming.
zero. Let me ask you a question. Do you know how many domestic violence you know, how many out of, let's say, how should I put this? Okay. How many domestic violence cases are there by percentage in the black community versus
Um,
against black women?
so I would assume, once again, I did not look this up. I don't have the stats on that. I would say it's below 50%.
But the stats say that black women are 3 times more likely than any other race of women to be uh, accosted through domestic violence. Now,
And once I
let's
do believe that is true, but how do I I'm trying to figure the best way to word this. Um but so what would that percentage look like? I'm just curious. I really
3
don't know.
times more likely.
Well,
Yes.
okay. Well, actually, you were pretty accurate. It's 50% of black women have either been through domestic violence. Well, yeah, 50% of Black women have been through some sort of violence or domestic violence against them from a male partner or a male human being, which is pretty high, if you can ask me.
Is
The
half
question
considered
is
majority or
where,
minority?
hold on one second. Hold on one second. The question is this, is that where is your threshold where it's a concern to you that you believe that that men in general should focus on solving that problem before criticizing Black women? Because the Black women versus Black women, the stats are not nearly as bad as Black men versus Black men and Black men versus Black women.
Okay. I'm sorry. Could you say that? I want to make sure I'm understanding you correctly. So you're saying it's a 50% domestic violence rate?
Not specifically domestic violence. It's about 1 in 4 Black women get attacked.
Okay. Well, so for me, I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel like 1 is a lot. It shouldn't be happening at all, to be honest.
Right.
Now,
that's still
unfortunately,
that's still 25%. That's a large chunk. And then it's 50% of Black women have either been through I should say it like this. In real time, right now, 25% of Black women are being abused right now.
mhm.
Then in the past, from right now to, let's say in the past, there are
George,
50%
tag me
of
in,
women
man.
have been through, wait. 50% of women have been through, domestic violence. You see what I'm saying? So we're at a 50% rate. Just some aren't getting hands and feet right now. Does that make sense?
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm gonna put you on my speaker. I'm having a hard time hearing you. But
Okay, no
I do
problem.
like this conversation. I'm curious. I would love to
Tagging
continue.
me in? You tagging me in? Torch, tag me in, man. Tag me in.
Okay, boom, boom. Got you.
So if Black women outnumber Black men in this country, right? And they're 50%, half of the Black women who outnumber them, right, are being accosted. Who is doing it? Is it the minority of these men doing it or a majority? Since we outnumber them anyway.
Right. Good point.
I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to fix my speaker settings. Oh no, you cannot hear me.
Okay, I'm going back to the ropes.
Okay, I can hear you now. I can hear you. Okay, perfect. Okay, so you were saying. So I read the chat and it says it's 51% of what again?
So basically, it's like this.
Mm-hmm.
50% of Black women are either in the process or have been assaulted by a man.
Uh-huh.
So there's more women than men in the United States, Black women than Black men in the United States by about, I guess, 2 mil, something like that. 1 mil, 2 mil. I think it's 2 mil. So we have
I'm
a
not gonna lie to
problem.
you. That is actually absolutely horrendous. And like I said, I can't specifically speak for that. I can only speak by what I see and the short amount of statistics I was able to Google. And yes, that is very terrible.
Okay, tag me in. Tag me in, Torch.
Got you.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay, we're getting off the manosphere. Remember, we said we have two. It's a twofold now. Who are the minority of the BWE sector that you were speaking about? What type of women are those that's speaking the loudest on this side?
I don't really, to be honest, I don't really consume that content. I just remember at one point I was watching Cynthia G because I thought she had something relatively interesting to say, but then I didn't like her content because I felt like she painted all Black men in particular with a one-stroke brush.
So today's show is called Hit Dog Holler.
Yeah.
So if that's not you, why are you hollering?
Because, so how do I explain this? I'm a firm believer of so I don't know how to describe this, but if everybody keeps saying and speaking this negative connotation on any group of people, eventually people will come to accept that as being true. And I feel like that is dangerous.
Okay, did you have any problem with Kevin Samuels doing that?
Absolutely. I think he was the worst
Tag
because
me in, Toy. Tag
he.
me in.
Oh, go ahead.
Tag me in. Tag me in, Toy.
All
Go,
right.
go for it. Go for it.
So, black men have trashed black women's image for almost 60 years. Do you agree or no?
Yeah, I could see why you say that.
No, do you agree or no?
Once again, I personally don't agree because I don't. That's not like a space I'm like the men around me don't
So we're
trash
talking
black
about
women.
movies, music. We're going down memory lane, back down memory lane.
Okay,
So,
let's go.
so we going down memory lane. You remember Luke and all them folks?
I know I'm from Florida. I know who Uncle
So
Luke is.
the black women have already been trashed in the public eye already.
Mm-hmm.
Now you just said that if people keeps is consuming this negative stuff that you
Yeah.
say, that they would believe that. They already believe the image that was already portrayed before YouTube existed.
I,
We
you,
have stereotypes that already been here for almost 30, 40 years.
okay, so then I have a question. Should we continue to uh, keep feeding into those stereotypes, or should we try to change the narrative?
Well, I'm gonna give you a little exploration
Mm-hmm.
information of BWE. There was a time where BW women, black women, didn't have the information to navigate through the world and through black men.
Mm-hmm.
We've always been the mule. We've always been the ride or die. These women that you see is just given some type of courage, whether it's through talking shit or talking facts, is giving black women the courage to leave and be safe. You remember that serial killer in the night? He called the Grim Sleeper in L.A. He
Uh,
unalived over almost 200 plus black women. This is before YouTube.
and I like I said, I think that's a terrible thing, but I still don't think we should perpetuate this idea that black men are bad and black women are bad. That's why
Well,
the changing the narrative is very important to me. That's what I'm trying. So like, I guess the point I'm trying to make is like when you promote these people, and I think that was the issue with Kevin Samuels too. So don't think I'm only harping on Cynthia G. Kevin Samuel, once again, I will say it 100 times. I felt like the way he said that if a man makes money, he should be absolved of how he treats his partner. I think that's fundamentally wrong. And I feel like that's why we need to stop all these narratives. Look, I would say Kevin Samuels was the first wave, but I felt like he led to a lot of other creators saying the same exact content and making it even worse. And then I, and this is just me once again, I just think that us changing the narrative and not putting everything on Front Street and then saying, yes, this is
whoa,
wrong.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Okay.
Okay, here we don't do circle talk. We let you talk. Now you said put everything on First Street, right? I've
Hmm.
already told you this already been on First Street for 30 to 40 years. It's already been out
Yes.
there before
Okay.
YouTube.
All
And I'm
right.
telling you that black women are is sounding an alarm because of safety. We don't care about passport bros. We don't care about you guys interracially dating. They've been doing that since Jet Magazine. We do not care about you telling us that other women are better than us. We don't care. This sounding of the alarm is for safety.
Mm-hmm.
Safety.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes off as a negative narrative because we're presenting real life cases, not something
Mm-hmm.
just coming up out the air.
So I'm curious. So, like I said, I'm not a big consumer of the BWE content, so I'm just gonna go off of the superficial things I've seen. So when they say that if you date outside your race, you'll be better off, that is, you agree with that sentiment?
Well, when you say better off, it's better off as a safety precaution. I want you to understand it's about safety. It's about provisions. It's about
Okay,
stability.
So
But
with that
safety is
domestic
first.
violence rate, I'm just curious. I'm curious about the statistic you brought up earlier, about 50%. So you're saying that's only with black men that occurs? It doesn't occur with any other race? Because I thought
No, no, no.
domestic violence was a fundamental issue across the United
When it
States.
pertains to black women, we're not piggybacking and jumping here and there. When it pertains to black women, because black women 90% of the time do not date outside of their race. All it We're
Okay.
focusing on black women and black children. Torch, I'm tagging you in. Go, go.
Got it. I'm gonna let. It looks like a Deontay dropped out. Basically, that's basically the whole argument is like, why is it zero? Why is it that it seems like these guys who have a problem with Cynthia G don't have a problem with other, let's say, content creators that are of the male persuasion? Okay.
Well,
And yeah, let's start there.
okay, so you remember how I saw you on the Razor Ray show and you were talking about Johnny, right?
Correct.
Now, can we agree that Johnny is a unique individual in his extreme behavior, right?
You mean I mean the creep from that frequents wait, Johnny
Yeah.
who? Just to make sure.
The guy who I think goes to Columbia, like, I'm not really sure, but the
Okay,
weird
got it,
one
got
who
it, got
be
it. Yeah. Okay, I know what you mean now.
okay.
Yeah.
So let's say Razor Rays has a panel of 10 people. You only run into one Johnny for the most part, right or wrong?
Well, no, there's variations of Johnny.
What do you mean by that?
For
I mean,
example,
well,
right now there's what I mean by variation is not everybody's going to be as toxic as
extreme.
Johnny. Let's put it that way.
I
Okay.
agree with you.
Okay. So you have super toxic Johnny, but then you have other members that they might not say things about deletion, but they'll say some extremely high-end misogynist phrases or use the B word or use the C word. You see where I'm coming from?
Yes.
Okay. And now, so there's a cross section of those guys too, and that cross section is larger, we hope anyway, than the Johnny cross section. Then you have some guys that are like, well, all I want to do is HOE, HOEs all day and night, which is still not really showing a very good light on black men in the community, if you can understand what I'm saying, right?
I agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
And so basically that's not going to work either. So it gets to the point where you can say not all, but then to the point of what matters, you see what I'm saying? It's a larger pool than you would think.
So do you think it's more than 50% or under 50%? That would be the magic portion of it.
It's over 50. It's over 50.
Now, so I'm assuming we're going to use anecdotal experiences from this because I don't think there would be a statistic for this, if I'm going to be honest.
Let's give it a shot. Go for it.
Well, so I'm definitely in those spaces, and I do see what you talk about, where a lot of men do have a lot of resentment towards American black women, right?
Right.
I do 110% see it. But at the same time, I would never say those guys are the majority. I feel like a lot of them are the minority. And even when you go into these spaces, these Facebook groups or whatever, you'd see the same guy, scream the loudest about the negative aspects of American women or whatever. Most of the other guys, it's not that. So my thing about it is, why would you focus on, to me, once again, they're the minority to me from my anecdotal experiences from seeing this, if that makes sense. Because I do think the whole concept is very interesting.
Right. But you do see that you can see when you just don't look through one, let's say, Johnny lens, right? If you don't look through the Johnny lens, but you look through a range, right? You see the problem. Now, this is what I was trying to explain to Razor. it's not, it's, you can't have it both ways. You can't have Johnny's on your panel all the time and then have a reputation of having a respectable panel. I did see instances where they did the right thing, but there was still like half the panel was still kind of on the Johnny-ish side, but they just didn't want it to go as far as it did, right? As he went, and the other side was like, no, I'm not down with it in any way, shape, or form. Respect Black women. There's probably, let's put it this way, there was probably on that night that I saw, there was very few men, because they were still cussing out the young lady who was on there. I'm not going to say her name because
Tam,
she
yes.
probably doesn't want it in mix, but you know who she was.
Yeah, my bad.
If you listen to her, she gave nobody a reason at all to go at her the way they did.
So
Tag me in, Torch. Tag me in.
Damn, all right.
Tag me in.
Go for it.
Okay. So you know I am objective. I have no bias, right? So if we're looking at the Johnnies of the world, I don't know this man, right? The Johnnies of the world and the divested women of the world, right? The difference between the two is the Johnnies of the world, their foundation in itself is hatred for Black women. You hear them say this, oh, I hate these Black bees. These Black bees don't submit. These Black bees don't do this. These Black bees don't do this. But then on the other side, you have the divestors of the world who says, I want to be safe. I don't want to be robbed. I don't want to be beaten. I don't want to be ostracized. So they say leave the community. That is a total difference. It's like,
I feel like that's a little bit of a stretch. And the only reason why I feel like that's a stretch. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
No, my bad. Go ahead.
Okay, the only reason why I say that is a stretch is because you're comparing Johnny, which me and Torch literally just identified as one of being the worst cases of passport bros or whatever you want to call it, right? Can we agree on that?
Right.
And then you said divestors, I think is the term you used, right?
You gotta understand, divestors have the same vitriol.
Hold on, I don't necessarily agree that. Yeah, I wouldn't agree with that either. So I would say there are divestors who are the Johnny equivalents, but once again, I do feel like they're few and far between, and I feel like they're not the majority. I feel like in all honesty, my opinion on divestors is they went through a specific path or experience, whether through them or what they saw, and they said that this would be a better option for me. And that's cool. I get it. I feel like it's the same thing for passport bros. They went through a particular situation or whatever, and they see an alternative that is better for them. That is fine. The only issue becomes is when you start disparaging the other side. And I say on both ends, that's wrong. So I guess my question to you guys is, because you guys are promoting, or not necessarily promoting, but you guys are saying Cynthia G. And I feel like Cynthia G would be the female equivalent of Johnny.
Well, let's see. He says Cynthia G is the female version of Johnny. Ladies in the chat, if you agree, put a 3. If you agree, put a 3 with what
I
he just
remember
said.
her saying that we need to abort Black men. Like when they're in your womb, when you find out it's a boy, you should abort it. And I feel like that's no different than what Johnny says.
No, Johnny was okay. I need to break something down real quick on this. Okay. You took what I would like you to do is, did you hear her whole phrase in context?
I did at the time. Once again, this was a while ago, so I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay, but
I just remember
with the last 3 words.
So what was she saying?
Which
then?
would be unfair, and I'll tell you why. Okay. Her point is this. If we're going to be disrespected, deleted, harassed, left, when a Black woman has these men's kids, have young men, why wait? Why have a male child and wait for this male child to grow up and wreak havoc on you and or your fellow women again. Do you see where she was coming from now?
I hear what you're saying, but I still don't know how you can justify that statement.
No, the thing is that
even in full context.
If it's like this, let me try to do it a number way. Would you, if you saw a little puppy in the street and you knew that if it grew up, it was going to maul you to death, would you feed it? Would you nurture it until it got to the size that was going to maul you?
So,
yes or
okay,
no?
That's a unique situation. But let's say that is the case.
Wait. Please answer that first.
Well, I am. I'm saying, like, let's say that is the case. I personally would remove myself from that puppy. I would give it away, send it somewhere else where it's not my problem and I don't have to deal with it. I wouldn't kill it.
Tag me in, Torch. Tag me in.
Okay, Cyber, go for it.
So you said you would alleviate yourself from the responsibilities of the puppy. Black women have been doing that, and on the other hand, with the abortions, right?
Sure.
On the other hand, we got these men saying, "Oh, they got the highest abortion rates, right?" Or if we stay and keep the baby, they tell us we should have chose better.
Okay, so I that chose better one is very complicated. I'm not gonna lie to you. Now, the reason why I think that concept is complicated because I have siblings who did not choose the greatest of men, and there were ripple effects for that. So, are we saying that?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you do know that a woman, when she becomes pregnant, her mortality rate goes up by 9 times.
I mean, that is horrible. Once again, I'm not saying that is a great thing. I'm just saying that.
Well, think about it like this: if your life was going to be more at stake, wouldn't you prefer to take the way that's going to preserve your life more than to risk having somebody else's kid, to risk having somebody else's kid who doesn't care for the kid, okay? And more than likely might do. I mean, we've been going over these videos of Black women being deleted because they got pregnant, or they got pregnant, and the guy didn't want them to have the kid. So if she gets rid of really, quite honestly, when you think about it, when it comes to action, it's more Black men wanting to delete Black men or their children.
But can I ask you? I do hear what you're saying, but can I ask you a question?
Go for it.
So, wouldn't you say that when you pick your spouse or significant other, it can be arguably one of the most important decisions in your life?
Say it one more time.
When you pick your partner, your spouse, your significant other, whatever you call it, it is arguably one of the most important decisions in your life.
Yeah, it could be, yes.
Okay. So my thing about it is, and I've seen this firsthand with some of my siblings, is usually that person, when you meet him or her or whatever, they show you who they are. It's your choice to proceed with that or not. For example,
I understand. I understand what you're saying. The only problem is that some people don't show who they are. If you've either done some studies on narcissistic and sociopathic behavior, they're very good at.
Yes, I would agree with that. But so you're telling me that the majority of these men are narcissistic and psychopathic?
Yes.
So you're telling me the majority of, let's just say, men are narcissistic and psychopathic?
Black men, yes.
So I feel like that's a crazy statement to make.
Yeah, I mean,
you're saying the majority of Black men are narcissistic and psychopathic. I feel like that can't even be. Man, okay, I'm probably gonna shoot myself in the foot with this.
Black men unalive each other every 1 hours. That's sociopathic to me.
But once again, that's not the majority. That's not the majority of Black men.
You know how many Black men die every year from gun violence?
If you've ever been to those low income areas or the problem areas, even the people who are in gangs, whatever, they're still the minority of people. They just cause the most damage.
No, that's not accurate.
How's that not accurate?
Dante, you
Okay.
got something? You got something, Dante?
I do. I was just listening. This is really interesting. But I have to say, I agree with my man there. Like, but DJ, I've said this before. There's no way that even half the black men in this country are like this. If black men in this country are really as crazy, I think that cyber talk is saying, then black women really should not go outside tomorrow. They really need to abort all their babies. If you have any sons, go ahead and poison their food in the morning when they eat breakfast because it's over with. There's no way it's not like that. You cannot tell me that there are 10 million black men walking around here with a murderous mindset. Now I do agree that there's a small percentage.
Deontay, we need to clarify that a sociopathic, you can be sociopathic, a psychopathic, or you can be a narcissist and not have a murderer's mindset. Because we're talking about that's a portion of a portion, if you know what I mean.
I agree with I agree with that, DJ, but I still don't think it's half the black men. That's now what you guys were saying earlier is right, okay? People stick to their guns, to the people who they associate with. So people who loved Kevin Samuels, they'll go down that route. They'll paint every black woman the same way. Women who love what's her name? Cynthia G will paint every black man that way. Now, but when she said, if I don't know the context of it, I think you just explained it, DJ, about aborting babies. You have no idea what the potential of a baby is, a human child, until you bring them in the world and raise them. So just going off of you know what, let's just get rid of it anyway because of the possibility. That is the most extreme form. That's basically saying genocide. It could be a joke if you want it to be a joke. But if you really start to think that that's a solution, then we got a serious problem.
Okay, if majority of them didn't have, let's say it's a close majority, let's say 49%, right? If they didn't have sociopathic tendencies and narcissistic behavior disorders, why are the prisons filled with them?
What do you mean by because it's a small percentage of black men who are in prison.
But that's what I'm saying. That's not even 40%. You talking about less than 20% of black men.
Okay, let me read the super chat. Thank you so much. Mammies are dangerous. She says this: the number one cause of death for pregnant women is violence from men. Source FBI. That's pretty psychopathic to me.
And I agree, but the key word there is men, not necessarily black men. And that's what I'm saying. When you
we don't want to go there because it's probably worse.
You think?
Okay.
Okay.
So you know what, DJ? I can see that because there are situations where this is one thing about black women and men that we have. I mean, I know it's everybody too with the abortion issue, but if a man and a woman lays down because they are having fun, which unfortunately, I bet you half this population was born from that. Parents were just having fun, right? And the female ends up getting pregnant and the man doesn't want to have it. Now, if you tapping into that portion of men who are psychopaths and crazy and they don't want to have a baby and they tell her this and she says, I'm going to keep it and I'm not getting an abortion, then yeah, you probably do got a section of them that'll murder a pregnant woman, even if she's Ray Caruth did it, the NFL player back in late 90s.
I got some stats right now for you. How many black men are in the country? You said seven, how many? 13 billion? 13 million?
No, it's like half and a half. So it's like, I don't know, it's like 20 million black men, 22 million black women.
Okay. It says this estimate 28.5% of black men are incarcerated.
That's still I'm sorry.
With that percentage, and the ones who haven't got caught, right? The ones who are leaving single mothers, right? What percentage of these men would you say are narcissistic and sociopathic?
So what was that number you said?
An estimated of 28.5% of black men are incarcerated right now.
Okay.
Now,
So
the other people that are walking around, I'm not even talking about the ones who's going to be unalived and toe tagged by another black man. We're not talking about them, right? Would you consider it still to be a minority of these men that have a mental disorder?
absolutely. Now, the reason why I say that, right, is one, based on what you're saying, you'd make it sound that mental disorders are very common, which to me, that is really a little outrageous. Two, you said 25% of
Wait,
the men are in prison, right? Which is 5 million roughly. So you're telling me every man in prison is a psychopath?
Every man, all races, yes.
Well, I'm talking about black men in particular. So every man in prison is a psychopath. So there are people who get caught with white-collared crimes. I know in the state of Virginia, I once got a speeding ticket for doing 155 and I almost went to jail for that.
You could have
So
killed
that would
someone
make you,
though.
huh?
See, because psychopaths don't consider risk and harm of others. You did 100, but you could have killed someone.
On an empty road at 2 a.m.?
I mean, you could have killed someone.
I
don't care about the details. You were
No,
doing
the details
100
are
and something.
important. That's
Listen,
the crazy
no,
part. You're glossing
because
over the details.
that's personal.
No, the
that I
details are
cannot
very
fact.
important. No, that is
Doing
very
100 something
important.
wait,
on a highway
everybody,
is
stop for 1
dangerous.
second. Let me make a stat. The Henry Ruggs is one example, and then I have another example of a guy. Forgot. This is in around the way. Lots of people lose their lives on empty roads. Empty roads doesn't mean there's no pedestrians. And yes, the driver didn't think. The driver thought the road was free, but the problem is this: when you're going that fast, the math will never match up. Your reflexes will never be fast enough. You'd literally have to see the person a mile down the road to avoid them because you're just going too dang fast. So the thing is that when you go down a road, and I'm doing this because hopefully if you think about doing it again, you won't. If you go down an empty, and I'm putting that in quotation marks, road, there is nothing you can do to stop in time. If you don't see them, especially if it's you said a dark road, right?
No, technically.
Okay, but it might be lit, but it's still at night, right?
So, but this is why I say details are important because I was on a highway, and I'm not talking about those highways.
Okay, you were on a highway. Okay,
where there should be quote unquote because anything can happen.
But see again,
even this is why details are.
Even going that fast. Let's say a car was on the road, broke down, battery issues, no lights. You're toast.
But
you
once
see what
again,
I'm saying, right?
But that's what I'm saying. This is why details are important. It's a relatively lit highway, and it was empty. That's why I feel like details are important. And if you've ever been to
you're making details on a situation you shouldn't even put yourself in. You're making
listen, sure, you're 100% right on that. I was a little young and reckless, but at the same time, so me driving 100 makes me a psychopath?
Yes, it could, because it shows. I'm not saying that you are. Let me say that. I'm not saying that you are, but what I am saying is that it will put you in that category because you're showing a level, whether it be temporary or permanent, you're showing a level of lack of empathy for life in general, including your own. There's a reason why they have speed limits.
But I'm sorry.
Once again, I hear what you're saying. I think that is
what kind of car
excessive.
were you in? What kind of car were you in?
I was in a little probably an SUV, a Rogue.
Oh, that's even worse. Because if you had to avoid, you're doing flips. Unless it's something really sticky like a BMW, you're doing flips in that SUV. If you have to avoid anything, it doesn't take much.
This is why I think this is interesting.
Though.
Say that again, sir.
I'm saying that is a lot of hypothesizing.
It is, and this is what's dangerous.
Yeah, but see, this is the part right here, DJ. I'm getting that.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Wait, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry, but at what speed do SUVs start flipping over How fast do you have to be going?
I'm
It's
listen.
the turn of the
Let me
wheel
Google
that
that. I'll Google it for you.
Okay, so let's say there's something in the road and you absolutely have to avoid it. So you're not really literally you're not pinning your steering wheel, but you're trying to get your car, sideways and around that obstruction. What speed does an SUV need to do?
So once again, it's not that black and white. So technically, an SUV can flip at I think it's like 40 or 50 miles per hour. Technically,
okay, there you go. So
but hear me. But no, there's more. See, this is. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think this is crazy because there are a lot of factors that go into it, and I feel like you guys are stretching it a little bit. To flip an SUV, you have to be going 50 miles per hour, and you have to cut your wheel relatively hard to flip an SUV on a 3-4 lane highway where there's nothing in the road. Going relatively fast.
Said 40 miles an hour.
Yes, but the other part of that is you have to cut your wheel very hard to flip an SUV.
I saw somebody. I literally was a witness and saw a woman flip an SUV.
How hard? Do you know how hard she cut her wheel?
Can I finish?
I'm sorry.
And because she saw a kid, she didn't lock it. I know that much because the car was at about 45 degrees. It still flipped. And I know she wasn't doing 100 because I wasn't that far behind her. It flipped.
She cut 45 degrees. Is that what you're saying? That is pretty steep.
That's not, but the thing is that's not 45 degrees. It sounds like a hard cut to you. I mean, she couldn't have been doing more than 45 at the time, maybe 50. So the thing is you were doing 100 and what?
No, just 100. Technically, I think they clocked me at like 90.
Is that after you patted your brakes, or is it that you never got to your brakes?
I say it's 100 because 90 is basically 100 in my book. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Okay. Let's go off of this because we're just going back around.
No, there was a very important part of that because sometimes people get locked up for things that aren't really not. That's an example. Sometimes people get locked up for things that aren't necessarily psychopathic in nature. So for her to say every man in prison is a psychopath, I think that's a stretch. And this is what we're like. I think this is what we need to understand is painting any group of people with a broad stroke brush is bad. Yet I don't know if it's human nature, but we keep doing it. And that's what I think is dangerous.
Right.
That's all I'm getting at. And
saying that somebody could be a sociopath or a psychopath because they break the speed limit. I mean, yeah, it was a risk that he took. No, I'm saying
that's not possible.
No. You're right. It is a probability that he could have hit to kill somebody. But but saying that he's a sociopath because of that, and not realizing.
Wait, Deontay, that's the problem with. I never said he was.
But that was
But he was thinking that. He was thinking that the point I was trying to make is this. One of the issue. I mean, well, not issue, but one of the characteristics of a sociopath is they put themselves and others in danger without remorse.
Without remorse is pretty impressive too.
And then that's when we went through the whole thing about, well, I was on a freeway, blah 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 blah.
I know, yeah. I didn't want to get. I know none of us want to go that deep, but there is a part of that
I got the definition for you. I got the definition for you. Sociopathic is a mental health condition in which a person consistently shows no regard for right and wrong and ignores the rights and feelings of others. When he did 100 something on the highway, he was a temporary sociopath. I digress.
That's a stretch.
But see, hold on. If you want to say he's a temporary sociopath for that, but not realizing that it's sociopathic to say that all black men should be aborted before they even born, that is more sociopathic than going 100 miles an hour.
Well, you guys never asked me if I agree with that. You want to ask me that?
No. I don't know if you agree with it. I'm just saying that is because that is a crazy thing to think, and I've heard that she said that before. I didn't know that she actually said it. I thought it was just some dudes hating on her because they don't like her. But that is crazy. I mean, I've never heard we should just delete all of them. I mean, I've never heard of all the crazy black men I heard who hate black women. I ain't never heard them say, "Let's just kill them all." Like, I'm sorry, dude, I didn't mean to go off like that, but that just didn't make any sense.
I can't. I understand what you mean, and it is like, because you are a black man. I understand your sentiment where you're coming from, but you have men out there who encourage abortions as well. They don't know if it's a boy or a girl. So you can't just be
Oh,
so go ho on her because she had the balls to say it. When there's
she
countless
said
of men out
she
here
said
who
it.
promotes abortion.
Yes, I understand that they promote abortion because one, there are a lot of people who use abortion as a form of birth control, which is
Yes.
terrible, but they do. And then two, they just don't want to have a baby. I understand that, but the context she was coming from was these dudes are so out of control. Let's just stop it at the spigot instead of trying to just instead of trying to clear the water out the tub. Let's just turn off the faucet right now and yank the piping out. They done. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I mean, I'm sure she just said that just because it was some extremist thing to say. It was sensational. I'm sure she didn't mean it
It was
because
extreme.
yeah,
She's trying
it
to
was
get women
extreme. But she,
to
yeah,
these women to stop procreating with these type of men. That's what she's trying to do. And she probably I don't think she had foresight of the implication it would have on the masses.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Can I
She didn't
just
have
say?
foresight.
Can I just say one more thing? Because I got to actually leave. But when it comes to my guy was talking earlier about how so much attention gets paid to the people who speak the loudest. It's not really that they speak the loudest. It's that they have the most sensational, negative things to say, and people push that forward. It's almost like in a classroom, you got 30 kids, two of them is class clowns and troublemakers. All the teachers know them, all the principals know them, all the counselors know them. They get all the attention because they cause the most ruckus.
Hey Deontay, what's that
That's
rap
what it is.
song? He was like, "It's provocative. It gets the crowd going.
Yeah, niggas in Paris. Yeah,
It's provocative.
yeah.
It gets
Serious, yes,
going."
that's exactly what it when it's provocative. When you say stuff like that, when you got men out here like that one crazy dude, I got 7 baby moms and 7 kids, and I don't want no part of none of them. Hell yeah, that's gonna go
Absolutely
viral.
wild.
Like like that is definitely going to go viral though. If I say, hey, I'm a black man, I got college degrees, I own my own business, I got a wife and 5 kids, and we all happy together, you're gonna be like, good job, dog. But then on the other hand, if I say, man, I got 10 kids, 10 baby mom, 4th one on the way, I sell dope, I kill people. Oh, they put me on Fox News. That's all I'm saying. Like, the majority of us are not that.
Mammies Are Dangerous has a good point. Why do you care? Y'all kill each other when you are alive, and don't care.
And see, that's what I'm saying. It's a small percentage. When you are dealing with millions of people, when I say small percentage, that's going to equal out to hundreds of thousands of people. It's not like millions of black people are getting killed every year in the streets by each other.
If
Now,
that
it's
was the
sad
case, we would cease to exist.
it's in the 5 figures, which is still too high. 10 to 20,000 black men are getting killed. You divide that by 365 days, yeah, you're going to get a black man every hour or two going to get killed by another black man. But it's not like hundreds of thousands of us are killing each other like that.
But we are a minority in this country. We're not the
Yeah.
majority. That 20,000 black men unalive from gun violence, that is insane. That's sociopathic.
But the percentage is still not that high. That's where I'm going at. Like, on the grand scheme of things, don't get me wrong. It's a lot. It's terrible. I wish it would stop today. But it's on the grand scheme of things, it's terrible that you paint all black men as that when it's a small percentage of men who are doing it. That's all I'm getting at.
No, wait. Here's a good point I need to make real quick. Hold on one second. If it was a small percentage, and black men were we were all good, we would have snuffed out that small percentage, whether it was to send them to jail or to get them out of the country or something, because there were so many good black men around. That's not happening though. These men are literally controlling the neighborhoods. And here's the proof. Look at our neighborhoods. Look at our black neighborhoods. Tell me this. What percentage of good black neighborhoods do we have in the United States?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't think it's necessarily a lot because unfortunately, statistic wise, we are, I think, one of the most impoverished.
Right. So how did that happen? Who made that happen?
That is a very debatable topic because there's a lot of contributing factors to that.
But who ultimately could change that? Between black
Well,
men
yes,
and black
we
women,
can change that. I'm assuming that's where you're going with that.
but between black men and black women, who had more control on changing the environment in the communities?
Sure, let's say black men. I want to see where you're going with this.
Okay. So if we had the ability to make the hood Shangri-La or some type of positive community like Asians do, like Latin cultures do, like Caucasian
Do,
cultures do,
do
like
you?
Samoan cultures do. Let me finish.
Mhm.
Okay. Then why hasn't it changed yet? I mean, it's not like we haven't had the time and the opportunity.
Okay, so my first rebuttal to that would be one, in every community, I would say the same issues kind of occur. Two, even if they're so, let me ask you this. So if somebody sees a crime occurring and they don't tell, are you saying they're not a good person?
I never said that, but I
I'm
wouldn't put
asking.
them on the top of my good list either.
Okay, because I know, and I'm sure you know too, that a lot of in low income areas, the rule of thumb that is taught by everybody is mind your own business, and you stay in your lane, and they can stay in their lane, and everybody lives a happy life.
All right, who started? Let me ask you this: who started that?
I'm 90. I don't know, but if I had to take a guess, I would say it was the bad guys, quote unquote.
Wait. No, was it men or women?
Well, men.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
even
You
if you
talking about
wanted
the
to
no
go down
snitching?
that, even if you
More or
wanted to
less,
go
yeah.
down that road, you see that
Mm-hmm.
it's really that basically at the bottom of the at the end of the day, and I don't like saying it either. It was black men that we had the opportunity to either rat or check these dudes, right?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't do it, and that's how we got the hood. Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, yes, if you want to keep it very simple, sure. But I
Yeah, I
feel like,
mean, I understand we can get into stats and this and saying
well,
that
it's not a
maybe it was some mammy that was agreeing with the bad guys or whatever.
no,
But
no. That's not
at the
even the
end of the
direction I
day,
was going with there. I definitely think that there was a. I mean, from what you could even research in Google, there was a lot of government interventions to prevent like successful households. So I do think that
okay,
is a fundamental issue that occurred.
excellent argument. What percentage would you give that contribution? How much do you believe it really,
I mean, are we going to talk
damaged
about
our
the crack
community?
epidemic? Because I felt like that crippled the community a pretty good bit.
Okay. So let's go over the crack epidemic. How much did that hurt us?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. That.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Listen,
Hello?
Yeah, it's probably
this
on
is
my
going
end.
to be a rabbit hole, Torch.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry.
It's important. I mean, this is
Because
sort of important. I guess my
this is
point is this.
Hmm.
Is that at the end of the day, if we really wanted to improve the community, it starts with us.
But I would argue that we have been improving the community.
You're saying that the community has improved,
Yes.
but we own less property. We have all these, we're toe tagging each other one every hour. We're toe tagging
Hmm.
women every 4.6, and you're saying that's an improvement?
Compared to what it was in the past, I do think so. But I'm looking up stats right now so I can either validate you as being correct or validate myself as being correct. So give me a second, please.
Okay. Meanwhile, let me do some quick shout outs real quick. Eat Pray Yoga is in the house. Fiona's in the house. Trizzle's in the house. Bridget's in the house. Mammies Are Dangerous is in the house. We have Prism in the house. We have Razor in the house.
So
We have Indiana Mom in the house. Bella in the house. Everybody up in the clouds in the house. The LW Hub for women in the house. Patrice Renee is in the house. Creative Solutions is in the house. Alexander Brandon in the house. And on stage, Zero to Hero in the house as well.
Oh, and Cyber Nightmare. Don't go to sleep, y'all. Don't go to sleep tonight.
So basically, let me go ahead and
Yeah, we gotta invite Zero back, man.
No, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
No,
Oh.
so we gotta invite you back.
Oh, I'm gonna be here as long as y'all will accept me. I'll be here because this is interesting conversation to have. And
Yeah,
don't get me
nobody
wrong.
cursed you out. Nobody called you a dusty.
Listen, I'm just interested in the conversation. And like I said, I do understand what you're saying, and I really think it's horrible. But I think that happens a lot at the lower income level. Personally, a lot more.
True. I mean, you would. I mean, I'm just saying this. This is why. Basically, yes, mammies are dangerous. Nails it like this. Sinji is saying, "Stop birthing your killers," and it's true because. I mean,
I like Eat, Pray, Real Good. I'm gonna highlight this one too.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's going down. I mean, why would you, and that's that that scenario I came up with the taking a little puppy and having it grow up and then it mauls me to death. I mean,
ask him what his definition of hit dog holler when you're done.
Yeah, that's a good question. Zero to Hero when you get a chance. What is your definition of a hit dog hollering?
It's I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty much what you guys said earlier. Where
no piggyback, no piggybacking allowed.
No, I'm gonna give you the definition. Give me a second. So, in my opinion, it's where somebody could be saying something in general, and then you feel like it's attacking you. Does that make sense? So, like, I would say something like, anybody who wears a red shirt sucks, and you're wearing a red shirt, and you're like, oh, he's personally attacking me. You know, that was probably a terrible example, but I don't feel attacked. I'm not gonna lie to you because a lot of this does not apply to me. But I still think that the repeating of these concepts are dangerous on both ends of the spectrum, and it's crazy because this is just because like I said, I'm 30, so I haven't lived a lot, and it's crazy because when I open up social media and I scroll through, it's like everybody hates each other, everybody's blah 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 blah, and then when I put the phone down and go outside, it's like everybody's chilling, everything's relatively reasonable. Are there still issues on the outside? Absolutely, but it's nowhere near as if you'd look on social media. And I feel like that's a big issue we all get wrapped up in. And I feel like that social media creates this environment.
I have a question for you then. Do you live in Blackistan? Do you live in the hood?
Not anymore, but I did at one point.
Everybody's nice where you are.
Wait, but that doesn't mean I don't. Time out. Just because I live in
ladies, he got his ass up out of Blackistan.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean I don't go back or I don't have friends there, or not everybody's going to be in the top 10%.
I think what Cyber's argument is that everybody, I mean, not just you, but everybody really wants to get out of the hood. And the reason why is not really because of the black women, it's because of the black men, right? I mean, we're the ones doing the damage, right?
So I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like it's on both ends, if I'm being 100% honest, because one of my friends said to me, who actually lives in Blackistan, as you guys would call it, is that poor people have poor people mentality, and it's self-destructive.
Right, but who's doing the most violence?
But it's on both end of the spectrum.
I just came from a poor, when I was fishing, I just came from a poor neighborhood, and the thing is that I mean, they weren't one-and-oneing each other, if you know what I mean. It was not a black neighborhood, but it was a poor neighborhood. And the thing is, the thing is that when it comes to crime, black women are not nearly contributing to the numbers as black men
Well,
are.
sure, crime, but there's still self-destructive things that are not necessarily
No,
illegal.
but it's crime that's bringing down our neighborhoods. It's crime. It's the crime itself that's bringing down the value of our houses. It's crime that makes our streets unsafe.
Okay, sure. If you're looking at it at a monetary level, yes, but there are
it's not monetary. It's spiritual too.
But that's what I'm saying. Even in the neighborhood, it's not only the crime that leads to a lot of the cycle of negativity. There are also behaviors that are associated with it. And I'm not going to lie to you. For you to
saying is that even though men are supposed to be the leaders in the neighborhood, you're going to give black women ownership of some of the responsibility, even though they're probably the number one victim of black men.
Okay, so I'm not gonna lie. I do feel like that's a loaded question.
With the exception of the government. With the exception of the government.
No. I do think that's a loaded question, but I'm kind of confused because if you go into these neighborhoods and you speak to the young men and the young women, you'd see that they're both lost. Like it's not, and that behavior is. So, for example, one of my friends, and I can only give an anecdotal because this is what I see every day.
No, I'm with you. There are lost women in the neighborhoods, even though there's less. Well, let me not even get into that. But the thing is that how did they get lost? They had kids by who? Who gave them a kid and didn't care? Who didn't say, you know something, we shouldn't do this because I want you, I don't want to, I can't afford a baby right now. Or I don't want to do this because, we are supposed to be respectful men. We are supposed to defend your honor, blah, 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 like all the other cultures do, right? And they do it. So,
but I feel like it's not that black and white. Like, that's the only thing I'm trying to get at you. Because, for example, correct me if I'm wrong. From my experience, women like security, right? Like
Safety.
the ability to take,
Security, safety, provisions.
Right.
Okay.
Let me pause and hit. Let me pause and hit Tevin up real quick. Tevin says this. Yes, there are also dangerous white communities too. Don't ever forget that. Yes, you are absolutely right, Tevin. The only problem is when we pop up that percentage number. The numbers are quite different. That's why black men are trying to get into white communities because there's much less of them that are dangerous. I agree with you. I agree. I'm not saying there are not ever. I'm not saying there's not ever any Caucasian, community that's not dangerous. I'm not saying that there are not. Let's put it this way. There are a lot more communities of color. Any poor community is usually dangerous, but there's a lot more poor black communities of color than there are of these white communities. And these white communities, we don't go to them because for a good reason.
Torch. We getting away from the mammies too. We ain't got no bias over here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think Zero, you're right. I mean, you're referring to mammies in the community who defend.
Yeah, we getting away from them too.
And support the degeneracy by the bad men in these communities. So yeah, you got a point. There are those women there because we've done some research and we see there's always a mammy who's going to. What would you say, Cyber?
Mammies out here, the mammatrons, they out here looting. They out here shooting. They out here driving the getaway cars.
So,
I wouldn't even go that. I'm sorry,
but maybe that's believe it or not, Zero. I'm starting to agree with you a little bit, but this is but the problem we have. Okay, first of all, yes, there are what we call them mammies here, and these are the women that are lost that are supporting degenerate men. Okay, that's who we have an issue with them too. Let's make that clear. You can go back to mammies. We've had mammy videos for the last year, probably up to about 50 or 60 of them. Okay. So
yeah,
I
I'm doing a live
that.
on the God of mammies, the God Mother of mammies Thursday.
Right. Scientifically, though, they're called male identified
Women.
women. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
They're still supporting they're either trying to be one of the guys, and I don't mean sexually, but they're either trying to be one of the guys and help support them, or they're that's their man and they're going to do anything for the man, even if it costs other people life and liberty, if you know what I mean.
So I agree with that. The only thing I'd like to add to that thought process is that, so like I always say that and this is just my opinion from what I see every day, right? Men will behave the way they do as long as it's acceptable to women, right? And women will behave the way they do as long as it's acceptable to men, or their ideal men would probably be more accurate, right? And when you go to the hood, and this is really important, the people with the most money are the negative people. Would we agree on that? Because if you have money, and you wouldn't be in the hood, right? Unless you're a negative person, right?
Yeah, if you have hard money, yeah.
Exactly. So if you're in that environment and you're looking for the best catch would be the people who are less desirable, right? And now if I'm a guy in the
I mean, I don't know about
it's a full hold on.
That sounds like a whole stretch to me.
No. It's not a. I'm telling you, it's not a stretch. Hear me out. Hear me out.
I don't want to go down this rabbit hole with you.
I'll keep it simple. I promise.
Cyber, let him go. Let him go. Okay, go ahead.
This is all I'm trying to say. So the guys who are negative and have the money get the women, right? So if I'm a poor guy with not a lot of options and I see this is the way to get women, I would probably do the same thing. I feel like that's how that cycle continues, and that's why I say it's on both ends. That's all I'm getting at. That's really all I'm getting at.
So
I hope that made sense.
Like this, though. Aren't men supposed to be strong-willed? So you're saying basically zero what you're saying in so many words that there are a lot of weak-willed men in the community, because instead if you're a poor black man, right, in the community, your best bet is, if you want a quality woman, is to get yourself out of poverty. Wouldn't that be correct?
I agree with you. But if you do not see any way, shape, or form of that occurring, you're going to follow suit. As much as people like to believe it, most people are sheeps.
Wait. But whose fault is that they don't see any way out of it?
I'm not saying it's not their fault, but I'm just saying it's a multi-variable issue.
At the end of the day, are we men or are we men?
How are you going to be a man if you've never seen what a man is?
That's not, but again, they can see what a man is. There's a positive role models. I mean, that, and then that's another thing is that, first you say there's a lot of good people in the hood, but now there's not enough good men around in the community.
One question.
And it's not like they're chained into the community. They can go someplace, outside the community where they can find upstanding gentlemen of really, quite honestly, you don't have to be brought up. You don't have to you don't even have to use a black man as a role model, because I know that we might have a limited supply of them, but there are other men that can be role models, right? You might have to go into the community. You might have to hang out all day somewhere else. You might have to get a job the thing is that, let's face it, I mean, emotionally, what you're saying is that the community is a bunch of people that have quit.
I see why you say that. I don't necessarily like that definition.
But that's I mean, if he's not, you just, in so many words, you basically said that when you said, well, maybe he doesn't see a way out of it. You're basically saying, well, then his other option is to quit and just to.
He also said they don't know how to be a man because they've never seen a man. So my question is,
mm-hmm.
do men have natural instincts within themselves?
What do you mean?
Do men have natural instincts where it cannot be taught? You can't be taught these things. And
I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel like you have to be taught most things. So I'm not relating to what you're saying, to be honest.
So I'll give you an example. I'm a woman. We have a natural instinct to be nurturers, right?
Okay.
To be soft at moments, to be I don't want to say silent, but be tactical, have tact in our wordplay. That's natural for us. So I just gave you 3. What are 3 natural instincts in men? When you get them hair on your thing, and you get hair on your face, and you know what I'm saying? What are the natural instincts of men, and what are they?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I personally believe those things are taught. You're taught to be a protector. You're taught to be a provider. You're taught to be a leader. I think so. This is my humble. I could be wrong. I think so.
I have seen clips of Indian boys, right? You know,
Yes.
there's a crisis of wild dogs in India. You know that?
Sure.
So there's videos where these little boys, they could be more than 8 or 7. They are protecting their siblings from these dogs. That's a natural instinct.
But I mean,
testosterone. What does testosterone do for men naturally?
It does a plethora of things. Aggression is being one of them.
What else?
Okay. That's
agility, strength.
But are you talking physical strength or mental strength? Those are 2 different scenarios.
Drop it for Razor Ray. Maybe Razor Rays can tell us what the natural instincts of a man is that can't be taught.
But I don't. So the reason why I don't agree with that is because even when you look at like a lot of other communities, they always say it's important for a boy to spend time with his father so he could learn the necessary principles on what being a man is. That's why I feel like that's why they always say a man is important in the house, because you need to teach a boy how to be a man.
Listen,
just having
I've had my father my whole life. I have 3 brothers. My dad didn't talk to them. He just showed them. Men don't necessarily talk.
You don't have to talk to someone to teach him something. If I go and see a man bring a fishing rod, put bait on a fish and throw it in the water and catch fish, I'm going to instinctively get a fishing rod, put bait on the hook, and throw it and try to catch fish. Just the presence alone.
Sorry. I have to do a special shout out. I'm sorry. Hi, King Lucifer. Now he says, I have a natural instinct to provide and protect. Booyah!
Okay, just because he agrees with your sentiment doesn't make it necessarily right.
That's not a sentiment. It was a objective question.
Okay. Like I said, I don't agree with it, because by saying what you're saying is, then fathers aren't needed in households because a man will instinctively be a man. No, that's what you're saying. Instinctively,
I based the question based on what you previously said.
You
said they don't know how to be a man because nobody taught them, right? And then you said they can't get out of their rut because they can't see a way out. So I asked you, men have natural instincts, and what are those that can't be taught?
And I said that I don't think men necessarily have a natural instinct to do anything. I think that most men are taught to be men. The concept of what you think a man is today is a taught. It's something that men have, way before my time, have seen and said that to be successful, this is what we need to do. And then the elders teach the younger boys, and they grow up to be men to teach their kids. And that's what I'm saying. In the low-income areas, a big issue of why the cycle continues is because there isn't nobody to teach them. Because just like we agreed earlier, if you have money and you make a way for you, you leave the hood, right? We agreed on that earlier, right?
Right.
So therefore, I'm sorry.
Here's my point. First, welcome, Razor. Welcome. Here's my point. I think you see how long we've gone back and forth on what's really what's really breaking down the community and what's not helping us and everything. Wouldn't it be smart as Black men for us to focus our energy on just fixing the problem instead of complaining about the problem or blaming it on somebody else, whether it be the government, whether it be Black women, whether it be Martians on Mars, whether it be, you see what I'm saying? Whether it be
I agree with you.
No.
I agree with you. And that's why I said earlier that we shouldn't keep promoting these negative stereotypes.
Do men have
Salute.
natural instincts?
Yes, we got natural. I got natural instinct. I got natural instinct.
Tell
Yes,
us 3
yes.
of those, please.
God-given natural instincts. We are like predators, apex predators, right? In the wild, right? We hunt for women, right?
Mm-hmm.
We search for women,
Mm-hmm.
and we get women. Yes, that's the 3 right there.
Come
Yes.
on
you're
now.
hilarious.
I can't get you out the hood
Yeah,
like that.
Yes.
So, can I ask you a question, Razor?
Sure.
So my philosophy is for a man to be a man, he has to be taught to be a man. You just don't magically wake up one day and say you're a man.
Some people, all right. Some people are born with that natural instinct to be a man, but some people are like that's why some people like let's say Einstein had that high IQ. He was born with that, right? So that's an
Mhm.
outlier. Yes. So, but a lot of guys would have to be, let's say, trained by another man. Let's say a father. That's why we need fathers in the household, right?
And I like what you said. Some men,
yes. Because let's be honest, a lot of boys out here inside, like the hoods of New York City, I'm gonna just speak for New York City because I'm here. They need fathers in the household, but let's just say the government. I don't want to get torches thing in trouble. The government has made it to where the female has to have custody of the kid because the kid needs a mother's nourishment, and they need the mother. I think no, the kid, especially if it's a boy, they need the male, and they need a male figure,
Right, but
in the house. They got
Razor,
to,
do you know why? Do you know why the government?
We tried it. It's not working.
But Razor, do you know why the government gives the kids to the women?
I always wanted to know that because I think they said because the kid need a mother's nourishment. Torch.
No, that's one, but another thing is that they just simply did the numbers before they made the laws, and they found out that the many men. I mean, look out how many men are complaining about paying $300 a month for child support, which we both know is a bargain and a deal. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some guys pay more, but go ahead.
But the thing is that we as a community, unfortunately, as Black men in the community, we haven't shown a strong need to want to take care of our children. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. Did you know that 90% of most child child custody things are not even the men don't even fight to get their kids. 90% of the dudes going, hey, yeah, just take it. Yeah, you can have it. I mean,
I gotta
that's
get
how
that
it's going down.
Hey,
I gotta
I'm an avid believer. If you have sons, if the man is not in prison or or unalive, that boy turned 12, send him with his father. At the age of 12.
Right? Yeah. Who's this talking? Who's that talking?
I've been saying that for about 5 years now.
Who
Send
just
him with
said
his
that?
father.
I agree.
This cyber nightmare. Don't go to sleep.
Cyber. I need cyber. You are a godsend, and I agree with that because these boys.
Because we gotta teach him how to watch his ass and make up the bed.
Yeah.
Well, Razor. There is one caveat. As long as that man is a good man, because if he has bad habits or whatever, and I'm being nice and saying bad habits, then really you have to understand that all bets are off.
Got you. But it's not up to the government. It's not up to the government, Torch. It's up to the people that had the kids to raise their kids.
That nigga homeless. He gone.
The government trying to dictate. All right. I'm not gonna.
The best way to solve that problem is if both parents are stable and they get married.
But you know how it is. These days, people break up and this and that.
Well,
you gotta give visitation rights to the pops because the kid gotta have a certain amount of fear inside the parent.
Listen, I do not believe in keeping the children away from the other parent. I do not promote that at all. Like I said, ladies, y'all got sons. They turn 12. Send them with his father.
I gotta read off Mammies are dangerous. A message. The main instinct is to stick that sausage in something, and for a lot of guys, that's it. You see what I'm saying?
I'm not. Yeah, okay.
I would never send my daughter with you. Never.
No. Hey. No.
Never.
Hey. We gotta realize. the boys especially need some type of fear in their life, and they fear need to come from the parent. They got to, because it's not working the way it's going right now, guys. It's not. These kids are growing up and they're getting teenage age. They're joining gangs and they're doing all types of crazy stuff. They start do crazy stuff, and it's because they have no fear of the adults, right? They don't respect the adults. I'm talking about in certain areas in the state, not every place, but certain areas in the state, certain inner cities. We need to have the men in these kids' lives, no matter if it's a male or female child. They got to, man, because
No, not the
and
daughters.
I know you say
no.
some men are bad. It's because it's a generation thing. It's like, it's getting passed down. You know what I'm saying? You got to have the men in the life. Now, even if you feel that even if the man is not getting along with the wife, right, or the baby mama, he has to be in that kid's life. You got to give him a chance.
Right.
Because
I will agree with you with that. As long as they're having a simple disagreement and it's not like a very toxic environment. But if they're toxic, then that's a different story. I mean, you want to have, but see, that's another question I want to ask you, since this is we're going over this. I don't know if you were here for it, but we're asking, who is responsible for fixing the community, men or women?
Men are responsible because we supposed to be responsible, but now the way it is, I don't know. They got it to where I don't know. I don't know anymore because I can't say, because like I said, I don't want to get you in trouble. So technically the man is supposed to be responsible, but the way the justice system has it, the woman is responsible.
The government.
The government, as a matter of fact, the government is responsible. Yeah, you're right. The government is responsible.
How is it condescending?
The government is
wait, Razor, don't you have control over your own life right now?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So doesn't other black men, don't we have control over our own lives, right?
Not all of us. Not all of us, because we just and excuse me, because I'm running my own live stream at the moment, and then I'm
problem
up here.
How did we lose control?
I'm trying to make sure I don't get banned.
How did we lose control?
These people are crazy on my panel. I'm trying to make sure I don't get banned.
Okay.
So, yeah,
I know.
Yeah,
we don't have that problem here. No.
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure I don't get banned from YouTube. But yeah. Man should have control, but Torch is slipping away. It's slipping away, Torch, from the man. It's slipping away. You know what I'm saying? It's becoming more 60-40 one man to man, which I know a lot of people over here.
Do you believe that the women want it that way, or is it just the way they have to be?
Hell yeah, they want it. They want it that way.
Hell no.
No, we don't.
If men were so strong, if we were the strong ones, how did the women get control?
The government, government.
Oh my God!
I'm not. See, I don't get into politics. Now I can talk to you offline. I can tell you offline, Torch, and
listen. Do you know the percentage of women that they say they want to paint this picture that all black women, the majority of black women are on public assistance, and that's not true. That's not true at all.
Well, like I said, I don't know the percentages, and some percentages are made up, like not made up, but like they're screwed to make you look bad, right? But I think, come on, Torch and everybody on the panel, y'all must agree that men need to be in a kid's life. You got to, because it's not working. The way things is going is not working. Are y'all gonna continue to walk?
Well, the thing is this. I mean, how did we lose control?
The government. All right, let me stop saying
no, because the black woman is under the same government. So what do you mean?
They all right, let me just say that the judges, the court system say.
Okay, who voted for the judges?
They villainized the man.
Okay, did you know that you could vote out that as black men who we don't vote very well, by the way?
That's why
we could have voted in people who we wanted, right? But we didn't do it, did we?
It's not me. They didn't. They
Did
pissed
you
me
know that
off.
we are the
That's-
lowest voting demographic?
Hey, that's why I'm a passport road torch, because I got that passport. I don't need to be around this nonsense all the time.
But didn't we cause this nonsense? Aren't we to blame? I mean,
They
you have to
caused this
understand,
nonsense. They, not
we
me.
could have voted
And not
in.
we, they. Torch,
Okay, we
they,
could have
not me.
voted in black men that we wanted that were going to help us get laws that we wanted to get. We didn't do it. We got alacrity. I don't want to see anything else. We didn't do what we needed to do. Plus,
Can I ask you?
We tried.
there's a lot of men
There's
out
not
there.
enough of
There's a
us.
lot of black men, as we've been saying on the panel, that just basically they don't have the mental fortitude to do what needs to be done in a good way.
Wait, hold up. Why ain't none of the ladies came up here with me? All this testosterone up here.
I know,
I'm
really,
about to drop.
Well,
No, don't drop. Why you dropping? We cool.
Because my man is in my presence.
Yeah, see,
Greater solutions in the building.
Creative, get up here, because I'm done with these dudes.
No, we ain't saying nothing bad. We saying that the court, hey, come on, the court system has truly screwed us men. You know
Women too,
that.
like, come on.
Yeah,
now.
but at the same time, I mean, what men? You got men out there that are working for you too. But what happened?
Before I go,
You know what the thing is? The problem is
Like-
that we need black men. We need to prove to the society that we are valuable and helpful and positive men, and we're not doing that. I mean, how do you feel about? Let's put it this way: what is our biggest export as black men?
Well,
what do you mean by that?
I can't say on this panel because we get banned.
E-Rax.
Nah, I ain't gonna.
I
I
mean,
can't say on this panel, Torch.
No, but y'all,
I mean, I know we rated
hit,
G. We're rated
my
G, but
Cash App,
I think
man.
you know, right? We know. So
Yeah,
why
I know.
is it
That's why I
that?
can't say it.
Why is it what you think it is instead of something like, we make tennis shoes, or you could say music, but our music, I don't know if that's going to be a good look for us the way
Music,
our
yeah,
rap
music.
music is going.
Well, I do have an answer for you, Mr. Torch.
Not old school jazz.
Because I do know that where I grew up in particular, a lot of the African American men went to the military. A good chunk of them.
Okay, so we're military assets.
Yes.
Okay, unfortunately, expendable assets. Correct.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. Only reason why I don't necessarily say that because as somebody who was in the military, a lot of your expendability definitely determines on the job you get.
Right. If you're a foot soldier, yeah, compared to maybe a desk where you do
Exactly.
more,
So
let's
it
say
depends.
or something like that.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised. Like a lot of just anecdotal experience, a lot of African American men, they go into supply, which is a very big one. Actually, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't think a lot of them were in it, or there were some in infantry, but it wasn't nearly as much as the Caucasian.
Okay, so other than that, though, let's take the military out of the mix for a minute. So how are we competing with other cultures of men now?
I would argue now, granted, this isn't at the top upper level, but I see a lot of African American men in trades such as mechanics, handymen, plumbers, electricians.
Okay.
Now, this is not the top income earning, demographic, but there are a lot of blue collar jobs that they take part in.
What percentage do you believe we hold of those jobs?
If I'm being probably like maybe 10-15%.
Okay.
I don't know. I can only go by what I've seen.
Okay. So that's not
All right,
exactly.
hold on, guys. Let me go back to. I'm gonna stay right here. Let me go back to my panel. They're asking for me. They ran Heat and Queen off her square. I don't know where she's at. But stay right there. I'm gonna see what's going on, and I'll be right back with you guys. I'm gonna put myself on mute.
Gotcha. Okay, so basically it's like this. It sounds like camo supply is not a big one.
That is not true because in the Navy they were either Filipino or African American.
Well, she was in the Navy as well.
Mm-hmm.
Camo
Okay.
was in the Navy. She knows she did big things there. She just wasn't you know what I mean?
Oh
I ain't
yeah,
gonna
I
say
got you, bro. Got you.
Okay.
Got you.
So anyway, basically, let's take your 15% scenario, and
Mhm.
we're gonna call that the positive and the negative. So we're gonna just leave it at 15%. Okay.
Mhm.
So what are the other 85% doing?
That is a good question. I wouldn't be able to tell you. Well,
Right.
technically,
No,
that's
Kevin
part.
Samuel said that black men were making at the average 43.5 per year.
Yeah,
44. So that doesn't sound like, we're doing big things. Can we do big things? Can we do better?
can I ask you a question though?
Sure can.
Okay, so in this particular climate environment, how many families can survive off of a single income home?
2 people.
So, I'd say very few families can survive off a single income home, right?
No, I mean, black women do it all the time.
I
They do.
want to say statistically they make less than African American men. I could be wrong.
It's believe it or not, you're right, by about $2,000.
And then to add caveats to that, if I'm not mistaken, aren't there assistance programs to help single mothers so that they can bolster their spending power?
Not really to bolster their spending power. It's more so so they can survive. Because
Yeah,
they
so
usually have
even
if they're a single mother, they're taking care of somebody else's kid and if they're getting money for it from the government, they're getting money from the government because the guy couldn't take care of it or didn't want to take care of it.
No, you're 100% right, but that doesn't make it a single income home because they're getting a form of income from somewhere else.
Well, they have to.
But so they're not. So the argument I'm making is they're not surviving.
Technically, it's not a single income home, even though technically, if they have just one job, it is a single. I see what you're saying. The problem is that the men should be. What you're trying to do is say that women have a single income home and the men don't.
No, all I'm trying to say is that if let's say black men make 43,000 on average and black women make, you said 2,000 less, so 41,000. If 2 people making average income came together and had a successful family, that's what 80. I'm bad at math. 84,000 that they can have a successful home with.
Right, but see, if the problem is that it makes good math when you say it like that. The problem is that the men are not holding up their end of the bargain. A lot of times, a lot of these men, you're thinking that all men are going to make 43.5. That's the average.
Yes. So that means
a lot of times the woman ends up having to take care of both the kids and the man.
Well, okay, hold on.
And then there's another aspect of them, the two getting along.
Well,
okay.
Yes, and I do think that is a learned behavior that we do have to stray from, just that we do need to learn how to co-parent together as a community. But going back to
Eat, Pray, Yoga breaks it down, says most single mothers are not on government assistance.
I'm sure that most are not, but if you're saying the average is 41,000 a year, that is not considered a livable wage in most cities. Rural parts and other parts of America, it might be, but in major cities, it's not a livable wage. So you would need some form of assistance.
I understand your point. The thing is that what? Well, actually, I don't know what your point is. What's your point?
I was just saying that when she says most single mothers are not on government assistance, I would say that in big cities, a good chunk of them are. A lot of them are, in my opinion. I was just responding to the comment. My apologies.
Not really. I think basically what you're looking at is in the bigger cities, women get paid more.
What? Okay, yes. That statement is true, but what do you mean by that? I'm sorry.
Well, I know a lot of women who, at least where I am, they're in the 60s.
Okay,
Remember when Kevin Samuels was making jokes about black women getting education and having to pay, for their student loans and trashing them for that?
I didn't. I'm telling you, I really didn't watch Kevin Samuels
Anyway,
like
I
that.
guess my point is they women did that because they could get, instead of getting a 41K job, they're now getting a 58 or a 62K job.
But that's the beauty of statistics and averages, because they're still averaging 41.
Well, 41, the women that are getting 41, let's say the ones are really, quite honestly, I don't even know what the cutoff for the government assistance is, but I think it's going to be lower than 41K.
It depends on the number of kids. I only know this because my sister is dealing with that dealing with that situation.
Right, but
and if you have 4 kids,
more caveats though. We're throwing in
no,
more
but it makes but these are necessary evils, because she had 4 kids in an expensive area, and she gets a lot of benefits to assist, which are needed. Don't get me wrong; they're definitely needed. All I'm saying is, I completely got off topic. The point I'm trying to make is, if 2 average income people come together, they can have a above average lifestyle. That's all I'm getting at, to be honest. That was all I was trying to say. I don't even know how we got down this rabbit hole.
Okay, government assistance. That's like women are it's at 39%. I can't tell. These numbers are so weird. 13% for this one of all U.S. women, 22 to 30, have received. Okay, there's so many numbers we have to look at. I mean, we could literally have a live just on that. By 21.3% of participants in government assistance programs. Let's see. Okay, black population, SNAP benefits, and then you break it down. Okay, who is most on welfare?
It would be Caucasians.
Non-Hispanic, black 50, Hispanics 36, other 17.8. Apparently, it's non-Hispanic blacks that are
the most.
Yeah, at least apparently.
That's
Let me
not
bring
good.
it up just so we're not telling stories here.
Oh, I really thought it would be Caucasians.
Let's see. I think this is it. Yes, there are 230 million Caucasian people, so I can understand.
That
But I guess they're balling.
That is but either way, that's beside the point I'm trying to make. I think like something we need to teach each other in our community is that 2 middle class people can have a very successful lifestyle. Because in my age bracket, like I said, I'm 30. A lot of people want a lot of excess. You know what I mean? They want to go vacation in Paris every 2 months, and that is a culture that I actively try to teach my peers that is not realistic. So I think that's important too. That's all I'm getting at.
Got it.
I'm sorry. That's all I was really getting at. 2 average income people can have a very successful life.
Right. The problem is that, okay, if we had the candidates to make that happen, it would be happening by now, right?
I don't necessarily think that's true. Only because, like I said, in my age bracket, and I think that's very important in this particular conversation, a lot of people have unrealistic expectations of their significant other. So for a lot of men my age, they want to date Instagram models. And that's what they're looking for. So if it's not an Instagram model, they don't want it. And a lot of young ladies my age, they want guys who make high 6 figures, which most men don't make high 6 figures in general. So there's a lot of things that need to be worked out on both ends of the spectrum. That's the thing. I guess my main thing is I never want to place blame solely on one person.
Do you remember that old movie? It was a baseball movie. If they build it, they will come.
Yeah, I know the concept, not the movie, but yes.
Okay. So basically, the thing is that shouldn't black men, don't we have enough work to do right now that we should almost ignore black women until we build up our community the way we need to build it up? Because we're getting you're saying that we were not that bad off. If we're not that bad off, then we should be able to repair what we damage that has been done, regardless who you want to blame. Is that correct?
So yes, but I do think a lot of our cultural norms are still a big issue.
If black men became, at the snap of a finger, became perfect men, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would the community improve?
What?
And by how
Sure,
much?
yes, I would give you that. But wouldn't it work the same way if black women became perfect too?
No, because black men are supposed to be the leaders, right?
Okay, so when you know that leadership conversation is very interesting. What do you mean by leader? Because
Well,
if you're gonna tell me, I'm
right
can I-
now,
I'm sorry.
black women, black women still want they still, believe it or not, most black women still want to be led by a man.
But what
And
does
I'm gonna
that
say
look
black men
like?
'cause some are open-minded, right? So
No, I get you.
They still want to be led by a man. So if
I-
that's the case, then the men have to become leaders.
So I hear what you're saying, but when you say leaders, what does that mean in specific? Like, what does that mean specifically? Because if you ask some group of men, they want to be a leader.
Okay,
You need a
man who
subservient
is
wife.
stable. How about this? A man who is stable and responsible.
So literally, you're telling me that to be a leader, you just have to be an adult, stable and responsible.
Yeah.
So,
And believe it or not, there's a lot of us that aren't. Unfortunately, it seems easy, but it's not easy. It's not
So,
easy. And you know this.
I'm just going by what you're saying. So can two leaders coexist?
Yes.
So who does the leading then if two leaders are in a relationship?
One leader usually, what's the word I'm looking for?
Give up power? Or not, or leadership? Whatever word you want to use.
Yeah,
I'm just
the thing is this. Usually what I find in responsible and stable relationships where there are, let's say, two leaders per se, right?
Mm-hmm.
Usually the woman is good at certain her skill sets, and the man is good at his. And what I mean is that she might be great with money,
Mm-hmm.
and he might be great at fixing things.
I like where you're going with this.
You see where I'm going? So it's really kind of like that. They lead where they need to lead. It's like, look, honey, we can't afford to buy season tickets to the Niner games. Okay, we just can't do that. We're only making $85K a year, and the tickets are $20K. You see where I'm going with this?
I love where you're going with this.
Okay, so but he might turn around and go, hey, honey, I need to pull out $2K to fix the plumbing in the bathroom before it gets worse.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more of a team.
So yes, a team. I would say it's a perfect team where it's the leadership positions interchangeable. So which, don't get me wrong, I do believe by your definition, I think it's easily attainable for most people. Most people are able to be stable and meet their needs daily. If not, most of us would be homeless. Can we agree on that?
Well, wait, say it one more time.
Most people are able to meet their basic needs, right? If not, most of us would be homeless. And I don't think most of us are homeless.
Let me look up the homeless thing. I know a lot of men are homeless. That I know. And then there's some men that are taken care of by women, whether it be their significant other, their auntie, their mother, their grandmother. A lot of people they don't put that in the mix, but it's in the mix.
I agree with you. Oh man, Mr. Torch, I'm gonna try to come on every live you have because this is interesting conversation.
And I don't know if they call being an incarcerated homeless either. So I don't know. Probably not. Okay. What percentage of homeless is black? 13%. So, but 40% of the homeless. Wow. 13% of black, but we're 40% of the homeless population.
So 13% of black people are homeless, right? That's what she said.
Looks like 40%.
I thought we're 40% of the homeless, but 13% of the total black population is homeless. That's what I got. And then if you add the 25% from the research earlier that are incarcerated, so 36%
Let me read exactly what it says. Racial minorities experience homelessness at a disproportionate rate. For example, Black or African Americans make up 13% of the general population, but 40% of the homeless population. So we're only 13% of the population of the United States, but 40% of us are homeless. That's not good.
I'm looking it up right now.
Okay.
So the Department of Housing and Urban Development had count around 500,000, more or less, Americans experienced homelessness in 2022. That is about 18 per 10,000 people. So that's less than a percent, if I'm not mistaken, or less 2%. So 2% of the population is homeless. Hold on, there's more things I need.
2%?
Yes.
Where did it? Well, let me present this. That looks. This is what I have. This one. So this is where I got it. It's right in front of us. What population are black? 13%, but it says 40% of the general population, but 40% of the homeless population. So I think both. Who knows? Maybe both numbers are right, but we're looking at them differently. 40% just doesn't sound good to me.
I didn't. What percentage did you hear me say?
I thought you said something like 1 point something.
No, it's that's what it says. The department, the HUD. I was looking at it from HUD. Hold on, let me find it. Oh,
okay, is it black? Is that the black population, or is
no? It's total. It's the total.
See, that's there. Okay, well, there we go.
Yeah, well, I was gonna take 2% of the total population in America and then take 40% of that.
Them is apples and oranges, my man. Them is
apples. No.
It all at least has the word black in it,
Okay, let me just do what is the.
Let me bring this down.
Okay, so here's another one from statistics.com. I don't know how credible this is.
Oh, no. Is that the blackstats.com?
No, it just says statistics.com.
Okay. Well, that's going to... I like government shit, but okay. What do they say?
It says 217,000 African Americans are homeless, which is a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And what percentage of those are men?
Let me try. I ain't gonna lie to you. I feel like it'd be 80%. This is just my.
Okay.
I'm gonna see if I can get some numbers of that, but it's a lot. But going back to the fact that there's 20 million of us, still not that much.
It's not horrible, but it's not great. We don't want to be. I mean, really, quite honestly, I see your point of view, but our goal, I believe, as black men, should be not to be the leaders of all negative stats, if you know what I mean.
100%. But
that's my point. Is we don't need to be leading in all of them. We don't
this
need
is
to be
true.
the most homeless, the most to be, the most likely to be shot, the most likely to leave the home, the most likely to be divorced, all that kind of stuff. We need to fix those numbers. So my goal is, let's find those, instead of blaming anybody, we need to focus on how to fix those numbers.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I'm not gonna lie, and this can sound cliche, but I think it all begins with education.
Wait, say again?
I think it all begins with education.
I agree, and unfortunately, that's a dire state because I worked in the education field for a good combined 15 years, and let me tell you, if there's any part of the government that I will agree with you that causes us issues, it's that. Which I do understand that's a big part of it, but we have the opportunity to make our own schools, and with the internet and everything, we have the ability to educate our children without the need of public schools or in lieu of the public schools, if you know what I mean.
I agree with you, but to me, to have that accomplished, it takes an educated person.
Well, I thought we had plenty of those. What happened?
What do you mean? Okay, are there plenty of? I'm sorry.
Wasn't Kevin Samuels shaming black women for being educated?
I don't think he was. I don't know. I don't watch his content a lot, but what I don't know. I can't speak on it because I really don't watch his content. If I'm being 100% honest.
Got it. Okay, that's no problem. Actually, it's refreshing that we have a unbiased, un-Kevin Samuel-like. So that's you're just giving. I don't.
Like I said, I don't like his content, and I'll say it.
Not from watching him. Yeah.
I'm gonna say I don't like his content because he says if you make a lot of money, you can treat your partner terrible. That's basically. I'm paraphrasing, but that's really what he said.
That's pretty much. Yeah.
I think that's absolutely atrocious because the amount of money you make doesn't prevent you from being a shitty human being, and I think that's a people issue where they associate income to being a great person. And those kind of never really go together, in my opinion.